What's going on, everybody? This is another episode of the Sports Binge with your host, Will Cotchery. Hope all is well wherever you are, and I hope you guys been doing all right this summer so far, enjoying this NFL offseason. Well, you got to use enjoy to, like, with a grain of salt because it's not real football going on. But I hope you guys are making do without regular season ball as of today. So right now, I just want to introduce a new series that I'm doing throughout the course of the next several weeks. It's going to be me ranking the greatest teams in each of the NFL divisions all time. Now, when I say all time, I'm specifically only including or considering the teams from 2002 onward to the present day, and that's so important because in 2002, that's when the NFL realigned the divisions to include the Houston Texans. So instead of like the old formats from the past, we now have 8 divisions with 4 teams in each because of their inclusion during their expansion 2002 season for the Texans. So I just wanted to throw that caveat out there as well. We're only considering all the teams for each division from 2002 all the way up to the current day. Now, just another disclaimer: this is not I didn't use any specific or analytical algorithm to make these lists up. So it's just a top 10 teams from each division history. It's not no specific analytical data that I'm using. I'm just going off mainly just team record for that win-loss record for the regular season, and just going through like the division records and this other disclaimers from there. Because a lot of it is just really just close knit. It's close knit and just splitting hairs because there's so many similar win-loss records for all the teams. So if you just stand out in any specific particular way, and if you represented the NFC or the AFC in the conference championship, especially going to the Super Bowl, let alone winning it, those tend to get a lot of weight as well. So just like I said, it's just a lot of these teams are what and what. So just want to throw that out there as well. So if you want, don't get too emotional. It's just really just something pass the time. Just really the interesting topic that I came up with. So without further ado, here are the top 10 teams for each division's history series. Now let's move to the NFC East. At number 10, we have the 2016 Dallas Cowboys. They finished the regular season 13-3, including a 3-3 500 record against divisional opponents. Now this is the season where we officially witnessed the ushering in of Dak Prescott, a new era in Cowboys history, alongside another star rookie in Ezekiel Elliott. Prescott had a great career in college, leading the Mississippi State Bulldogs to a number 1 seed in 2014 during his time with Dan Mullen in Starkville. So, and he was even with his college background, he was a mid to late round draft pick, and he really took the league by storm, winning Rookie of the Year. And Ezekiel Elliott, who was the known commodity, he was spectacular as his first year starter as well. The team was pretty stacked across the board statistically, ranking 5th in total offense and scoring offensively, and defensively they were number 5 in the league as far as scoring defense is concerned. And they were middle of the pack in yards allowed, but they were more of a bend but don't break as well, ranking, and they were top 15 across the board, so they were really productive that season. Their leading receiver was Cole Beasley, and Sean Lee was the leader of the defense. We all know whenever he was healthy, he rivaled Bobby Wagner and Luke Kuechly as the best inside backer in the game. So like I said, 13-3 season, but in the playoffs they once again lost in the second round to the great Aaron Rodgers, most talented quarterback to ever live, in my opinion. This was just a godlike throw. It's an unbelievable throw, just scrambling around, hitting him on the sideline off balance. The guy is unbelievable. So you can't really fault the Cowboys there. And now a lot of people may listen to this video and say, well, 13-3 as a 13-3 team, you barely make the list. But if you really watch football over the last decade and a half, you realize the NFC East is arguably has been the most competitive division, just with the bigger markets. The bigger markets help a lot, and historically dominant franchises. Three of the franchises in this division have at least 3 championships. So that plays a key role just for popularity, but you're going to see why they were ranked this low in a few minutes. At number 9, we have the 2011 New York Giants. They finished the season 9-7. Likewise, with the 2016 Cowboys, they were 500 against NFC East opponents. but they end up winning the Super Bowl against the Patriots in their second time against the Patriots in a 4-year span. Now, unlike the 2007 counterparts, the 2011 team was better. In my opinion, they were more gifted offensively, and the statistics prove it by them ranking top 9 in scoring offense and total offense, respectively, 9 and 8. Defensively, they weren't special at all. They weren't really great. They were ranked 25 in points allowed and 27th in yards allowed. But their offense, led by breakout star Victor Cruz, Hakeem Nicks, who put forth arguably the greatest postseason for a receiver ever. Well, statistically, he's second only to Larry Fitzgerald if you look at the numbers. But he was unbelievable that season, especially in that great hot postseason run. And Ahmad Bradshaw, this multi-purpose back, was their leading rusher that year. One of the interesting things about this team, they scored 394 points for that season, but they allowed 400. They had a -6 point differential, so that's something I'd never really seen from a Super Bowl champion, let alone like a plus 500 team. So that's a very unique thing about that squad. Of course, having that great postseason run of Eli Manning once again dominating the postseason to hoist their second Lombardi trophy over the New England Patriots in a 4-year stretch. And like I said before, even though the defense wasn't special statistically, they still had a great pass rush led by breakout star Jason Pierre-Paul. I want to say he had like 16 and a half sacks that season. So he was an unbelievable force, just terrorizing quarterbacks that season. At number 8, we have the 2007 New York Giants with a 10-6 record and 3-3 against the division. They were the first Super Bowl champion Giants team in this era over the Patriots in the first time in the 4-year stretch. So the thing about this team, like I said, the 2011 team was far more offensively sound and gifted. The 2017 really banked on their defense more so. And although they were middle of the pack as far as scoring defense, the Giants in 2007 were 7th in total defense, so they didn't really give up a lot of yards whatsoever that year. Led by their longtime leader, Michael Strahan, they pulled off the improbable upset against the undefeated New England Patriots that year. That's really their legacy, obviously, and rightfully so. They played an unbelievable game against rushing the passer, against dominating the line of scrimmage against Tom Brady's Patriots. I feel like if the Pats would have won, they would have probably been considered the greatest team in NFL history. Some people, I'm sure they still will, just off the sake of they went 16-0, the first team to ever do that. Second team to finish a regular season undefeated, but the first one to go 16-0. At the 7th spot, we have the 2008 New York Giants. They finished 12-4, 4-2 in division play, but they lost to the Philadelphia Eagles in the divisional round. This team is far and away the greatest Giants team I've ever seen in my lifetime. Obviously, I wasn't around with the LT, the Lawrence Taylor days, but as far as just sound on both sides, they were just a complete team all the way around. They were third in offensively. They ranked 3rd and 7th in scoring offense and total offense, respectively, and they placed in the 5th spot defensively in yards allowed and points allowed average. The 427 points they scored that season was the second most they've scored in the realignment era, and the 294 points they surrendered was the 3rd fewest in the realignment era since 2002. And in my honest opinion, if you were to put the 08 team, the 2007 team, and the 2011 team for the Giants, I feel like the 08 team is the best one of the three, and they would beat both the Super Bowl champion teams just off the strength of how they dominate the regular season. The trepidation, the downfall for the 08 team was that they sputtered down the stretch with absences to Plexico Burress, and I want to say Brandon Jacobs missed some time too. I don't think he only played 13 games that year. So down the stretch, that's where 3 of their 4 losses came within the last several weeks of the season, and they just weren't quite the same as they were up until like that mid-November mark. So that's where they fall short there, as they were one and done in the playoffs as they lost to the Philadelphia Eagles. At number 6, we have the 2003 Philadelphia Eagles at 12-4 for their regular season record and 5-1 in divisional play, but they lost in the conference championship to the Panthers. Now, statistically speaking, the 03 squad was the worst among the Philadelphia Eagles team that went to the conference championship all those years, as they finished 11th and 18th in scoring offense and total offense, respectively. And even though they placed 7th overall in scoring defense. They placed 20th overall in total defense. So, like I said, statistically, that even though it's middle of the road for their standard over that early 2000s era, that was the worst team on paper. But nonetheless, they made it to the conference championship game for a 3rd straight year. And McNabb was still the top player for them, and of course Westbrook, and Todd Pinkston was the leading receiver for the 2nd consecutive year. Cracking the top 5 are the 2008 Philadelphia Eagles with a 9-6-1 record. Even though they only finished 2-4 in divisional play, they got it all the way to the conference championship game once again, but they lost to the Cardinals. Now, the regular season record doesn't show for it since they weren't in double-digit win categories. But as far as on paper, this was the most well-rounded team of the Donovan McNabb era. Only the 2002 and 04 team on paper you can make a remote argument that were better, but they were spectacular. I doing the research, I didn't even realize it. Even with this 9-6-1 record, they were 6th in scoring offense, 9th in total offense, 4th in scoring defense, and 3rd in total defense. So they were remarkable that year as well. Deshaun Jackson, as a rookie, led the team in receiving. Brian Westbrook was still the leading bell cow guy. And of course, McNabb was still under center. So that was, I was thinking before filming this video, I thought it was going to be barely crack the top 8, but just off the strength of their statistical output alone, they warranted them a top spot on this list. After starting 5-4, they finished the season 4-2-1, so they really got on the tear late at the right time. They were the 6th seed, so they beat Minnesota on the road in Wild Card Weekend. Went to New York to beat their arch rival Giants, and before losing to Arizona and out in the championship game for the conference. Now, I will say this: even though they stack up statistically, I wouldn't put them over some of the other Eagles teams because they were just better and more consistent throughout the longer course of the season. But this team just make it to the conference championship despite their struggles as a win-loss category. They should get more respect for sure. At number 4, we have the 2007 Dallas Cowboys with a 13-3 record and a 4-2 in divisional play before losing to the arch rival Giants in the divisional round at home. This is probably the most stacked team I've ever seen in my lifetime, and there's no exaggeration. Even for them being the Cowboys, they had an NFL record 13 Pro Bowlers. They didn't really have a glaring weakness on the team, from Flozell Adams to Leonard Davis, Andre Gerard on the offensive line. Running back, you had Pro Bowler Marion Barber, Pro Bowler quarterback and Tony Romo, All-Pro tight end and Jason Witten, Pro Bowl wide receiver and Terrell Owens, and not to mention DeMarcus Ware, Jay Ratliff, Anthony Spencer, Ken Hamlin, Terrence Newman. There was no, even I think Nick Folk was a Pro Bowl even that year or the year before, so they didn't have any type of glaring weakness. And they finished 13-3, and one of those losses were against the 16-0 Patriots, so that's essentially an asterisk right there. And another one of their losses was in Week 17 on the road against their Washington Redskins, where they essentially rested their starters. So really, you could make an argument they could be 15-1 just off those two what I consider asterisk losses, because well, it's not an asterisk loss for the Patriots, but that's a historically dominant team, iconic team. So, and then of course, when you have the number 1 seed locked up, there's no really point in playing in a meaningless game at that point in the season. So I think had this team won the Super Bowl, I feel like they could have potentially been the best team. They would have been the best team in a division since the realignment era is concerned. At the 3rd spot, we have the 2002 Philadelphia Eagles with a 12-4 record and 5-1 in divisional play before losing the conference championship game to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The team was ranked 4th in scoring offense and 10th in total offense, where they ranked 2nd in scoring defense and 4th in total defense. So another stacked team in the Andy Reid, Donovan McNabb era. They just been a consistent machine throughout their whole tenure. After starting the season 3-2, they finished the season 9-2 to finish the year 12-4 before having the divisional playoff game at home against the Falcons, winning 20-6 before they lost to Tampa Bay 27-10, which was the icing on the cake. That game was Ronnie Barber's pick 6 as the Philadelphia Eagles were marching late in the game. I remember here, I don't know if this was America's game from the NFL Network, but some of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers played. They were talking about that season and that game, that title game in Philadelphia. They said they had the police officers ready to celebrate. So, and you know, they were ready. They had confetti ready, but they thought it was a foregone conclusion because the Eagles, you know, they had beaten them during the season at home 20-10, but Tampa Bay responded and shocked the whole city. So that was one of those other, you know, disappointing playoff ends into the season for the Eagles. In the number 2 spot, we have the 2004 Philadelphia Eagles with a 13-3 overall record and undefeated in divisional play before losing the Super Bowl 39 to the New England Patriots. Now, this team was just inside the top 10 offensively, ranking 8th and 9th in scoring offense and total offense respectively, and they ranked 2nd in scoring defense and 10th in total defense. Now, obviously, this season was headlined by the acquisition of Terrell Owens, which was easily, you know, the greatest receiver Donovan McNabb has ever had during his career, especially in his time in Philadelphia. And up until that point, only the 2002 team had scored more points in the season than the 04 Eagles. The 2002 team scored 415, whereas the 04 squad scored 386. So it really shows the difference of, you know, having that big play wide receiver. They just really had it all click in that season. They just couldn't really be stopped with a well-oiled machine. And of course, T.O. ended up playing in the Super Bowl on a broken leg. So that's one of the more memorable, iconic performances for me. And for him to still be productive at that level, just despite being in great pain, I can only imagine. That team, like if they would have won the Super Bowl, you know, they probably would have been top on this list. But, you know, that's splitting hairs with a lot of these squads anyway. Last but definitely not least, at the number 1 spot are 2017 Philadelphia Eagles, 13-3 overall, 5-1 against the NFC East, actually beating the defending Super Bowl champion Patriots in this Super Bowl. The team was headlined by Carson Wentz, second-year player out of North Dakota State, having an unbelievable sophomore campaign before it was halted by injury. And Nick Foles, thankfully for the team, he caught fire at the right time in the postseason to help them hoist the Lombardi Trophy at the end of the year. And this is another complete team across the board. Offensively, they ranked third and 7th in scoring offense and total offense respectively. And defensively, they ranked 4th in both scoring and total offense. So not too many weaknesses about that team at all. Just you couldn't really pick them apart. They were healthy too. That was the greatest thing for any championship team. Just you had to have that great luck of health, and which they took advantage of in that season. So after a long-awaited misery, just the heartbreaking, gut-wrenching losses, it's tough. Even in their down years, the Philadelphia Eagles finally won a championship in the Super Bowl era. So that's my list. So I know everybody's gonna have their differing opinions, and I was like, why didn't put this team on it? But just that's what the comment section's for. That's what the likes for. That's what the subscription's for. You can tell me all what you need to tell me on my YouTube channel. I'm just really eager to see what you guys have to hear. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to all my YouTube videos and my YouTube channel. You guys have a blessed day, and I'll see you in the next video.